It's Nelson Mandela Day, a time when we are encouraged to give 67 minutes of service, no matter how small, to honor the South African leader's 67 years of service to mankind. The JIS joins that call, encouraging you to take action and inspire change in your little corner of Jamaica, land we love. Hello and welcome to another edition of Jamaica Magazine. I'm your host, Theodore Henry. We have a lot in store for you, so please stick around.
Thank you, Mr. Mandela. You are one great brother. God bless you, Mr. Mandela. Love and respect forever.
Can you spare some time to help others?
How about 67 minutes?
This July 18, join the global movement to give service to others. Volunteer your time to literacy, shelter, and food security efforts in your community. Let's honor the 67 years of service world leader Nelson Mandela gave us.
None of us acting alone can achieve success. We must therefore act together as a united people for national reconciliation, for nation building, for the birth of a new world.
Remember, we can change the world and make it a better place. The choice is in your hands, so volunteer today.
Good day, I'm Tamara Michaela and this is your GIS News for Monday, July 18. Immigration, trade and CARICOM integration were among the major issues discussed in bilateral talks between Prime Minister Andrew Holness and his Trinidad and Tobago counterpart earlier today. The Twin Island Republic's Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley arrived in Jamaica on Sunday for a 4-day official visit.
I'm looking forward to a successful visit, and at the end of it, I'm looking forward to a stronger bilateral relationship between Jamaica and our largest trading partner within CARICOM.
Among other things, Monday's meeting continued negotiations on a framework agreement and the establishment of a joint commission to provide a structured medium for bilateral discussions and cooperation in areas of mutual interest. The Trinidad and Tobago Prime Minister and his delegation are expected to depart the island on Thursday, July 21. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs says it is taking steps to confirm and secure the well-being of Jamaican nationals in Turkey in light of the recent political turmoil in that country. The ministry says contact has been made with all 3 members of a Jamaican delegation who are in Istanbul participating in the 40th session of the World Heritage Committee of UNESCO, and they are safe. Contact has also been made with at least one of a number of Jamaican nationals studying and visiting in Turkey, while the permanent mission of Jamaica to the United Nations in Geneva is seeking to reach out to the others. The Foreign Affairs Ministry says it has also been in touch with its honorary consul in Istanbul, and he has been put in contact with the Jamaicans identified in Turkey so that he can provide consular assistance as may be necessary. In the meantime, the ministry, on behalf of the Jamaican government, has expressed hope that the atmosphere of unrest and uncertainty in Turkey will soon be resolved. Sport Minister Olivia Grange says all necessary measures have been put in place to ensure the health of Jamaica's Olympians who will be heading to Rio, Brazil this summer. The minister spoke with JIS News about steps to address things such as the ongoing Zika virus outbreak in that country. She says the Ministry of Health is also in contact with the World Health Organization as they continue to monitor the situation. Minister Grange was speaking on Saturday at the Best Dressed Fun in the Sun Festival. 5 artisan villages are to be established across the island to serve as centralized locations for the production and merchandising of craft items. Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett says funding has already been identified and design started for the villages. They will be located in Ocho Rios, Falmouth, Montego Bay, Negril, and Port Antonio. The one in Falmouth should be completed within 9 months.
What I want to see is for a more organized presentation of our craft and our art. And it becomes a place of joy to visit. And also a decent location for you to peddle your wares and to showcase your creative work.
The ministry is working with the Port Authority of Jamaica and the Urban Development Corporation to establish the artisan villages. Minister Bartlett was speaking at the recent Craft Enhancement Project Awards ceremony. Minister with responsibility for agriculture and fisheries J.C. Hutchinson says private sector investment in the build-out of agro-processing plants is expanding market access for local produce. He was speaking with the JIS News during a recent tour of Grace Kennedy's facility in Hounslow, St. Elizabeth. He said the plant fits well with the ministry's plan to place more focus on the agro-processing or value-added aspect of agriculture.
It is one where it takes in the produce from the farmer and carries it straight to the value chain. And this is what we are saying that we need to have more in Jamaica, where we have more companies like this coming on board, linking with the farmers, getting all their products whereby they have a ready market for their products.
And finally, young people of the Commonwealth are being encouraged to play their part in helping the 53 member states achieve the Sustainable Development Goals set by the United Nations in 2015. The call comes from the Secretary General of the Commonwealth, Patricia Scotland, who was speaking at a town hall meeting held recently at the University of the West Indies.
Do something to make a difference and make sure those Sustainable Development Goals are owned by each of you and delivered by each of you. Because I want us to remember that what each of us does makes a difference.
Baroness Scotland was on the island to meet with the first Jamaican cohort of the Commonwealth's Youth Leadership Initiative 3360. It's a program that equips young Commonwealth leaders and professionals with the skills and the networks to make a difference. And that's it for GIS News today. I'm Tamara McHale. Thanks for watching.
This is the Aedes aegypti mosquito that spreads the Zika, chikungunya, and dengue viruses. Protect yourself from the bite of this mosquito. A message from the Ministry of Health.
Catch up on the latest news coming out of the office of the Prime Minister next.
Prime Minister anticipates bilateral talks with the Trinidadian counterpart. High-level world brainstorming session to improve growth and debt management strategies. And government commits to reforms in wake of murder of 3-year-old. You're watching Jamaica House Weekly. I'm Carrie-Ann Smith.
We will engage in discussions on trade, security, and other areas of cooperation, including culture.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness sharing plans to deepen relations with Trinidad and Tobago. Prime Minister Keith Rowley of Trinidad and Tobago arrived on the island Sunday for a 4-day official visit. Prime Minister Holness said he was looking forward to a stronger bilateral relationship between Jamaica and its largest trading partner in CARICOM.
And Trinidadians have a very strong cultural, commercial, financial trade link. Not many Jamaicans know that each year approximately 16,000 Jamaicans go to Trinidad and about 13,000 Trinidadians come to Jamaica. So there is a strong basis on which we can build.
On the local scene, Prime Minister Holness sought to strengthen Jamaica's growth agenda while managing debt with the hosting of a World Bank brainstorming session at Jamaica House Tuesday. The World Bank-sponsored seminar drew from global policymakers, international experts, and countries that have successfully resuscitated their economies after stagnation. The seminar also spoke to public-private partnership and debt management strategies. And as he thanked the World Bank for its continued support, Prime Minister Holness urged the gathering to focus on what he called the 5 C's: convening, collaborating, connecting.
And then we're going to commit, all of us here, especially the permanent secretaries and the heads of the agencies and the ministers, will make a commitment for actualizing what we have learned. A commitment to a resolve for economic growth and prosperity for our people. And then we're going to become champions in our own spheres of influence and authority. We're going to use our leadership in those spheres to spark economic growth.
The Prime Minister also found time to meet with Chairman of the Development Bank of Jamaica, Joseph Matalon. The two discussed ways to improve the business development climate in Jamaica. Earlier in the week, Prime Minister Holness committed his government to reviewing laws related to violence against women and children with a view to implement harsher penalties. The Prime Minister's pledge came as he mourned the murder of a 3-year-old girl in St. Anne. He said he was assured by Police Commissioner Dr. Carl Williams that all was being done to bring the 3-year-old's killer or killers to justice. Mr. Holness instructed Portfolio Minister Olivia Grange to spearhead a joint select committee of Parliament to look at reforms to the Offences Against the Person Act, the Sexual Offences Act, the Domestic Violence Act, and the Child Care and Protection Act. Prime Minister Holness also urged Jamaicans to be parents to all children by reporting all suspicious activities relating to children. Prime Minister Andrew Holness reiterated Jamaica's solidarity with the French Republic as it dealt with the latest attack on its country. Last Thursday, a man drove a truck into a crowd watching Bastille Day fireworks in Nice, killing 84 people and injuring hundreds more. In a letter to the French Prime Minister, Mr. Holness said the atrocious act sought to undermine the principles of democracy championed by the French. He also extended Jamaica's condolence to the people of France and their bereaved families in their time of grief. And the day before, Mr. Holness congratulated Theresa May on her appointment as Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. In a letter, the Prime Minister said he looked forward to strengthening the strong historical links of friendship and cooperation. Commenting on the enormity of the assignment and May's high level of competence, Mr. Holness wished her every success in the discharge of her duty. And that's it for Jamaica House Weekly. Be sure to join us next week for more of the news coming out of the office of the Prime Minister.
Welcome to the FSC Minute. I am Theodore Henry. In today's Minute, we have important information on retail repurchase agreements, also known as retail repos. We will also speak on the requirements for retail repo investors. Retail repos are contracts between investors and licensed securities dealers. They involve the payment of a fixed return on investment at the end of a specified period of time. The investor, in turn, has ownership rights to assets held on their behalf by a trustee until the investment is repaid. If the investment is not repaid within the agreed time frame, then these assets remain the property of the investor. If you are currently invested in retail repos, there are two important requirements that you must comply with before August 2, 2016. The first, you must sign the Master Retail Repurchase Agreement, or MRRA, which can be obtained from your securities dealer. The signed MRRA serves as evidence of a retail repo investor's rights under a retail repo contract and protects his or her interest in the event that a securities dealer is unable to repay the invested amount or is guilty of misconduct. If you do not sign the MRRA, it may be difficult to secure your rights. Secondly, you must provide your securities dealer with a valid taxpayer registration number, TRN, or other government-issued identification number that the FSC finds acceptable. It is possible that securities dealers may end business relationships with investors who fail to sign the MRRA and submit a TRN or other approved identification number by August 2, 2016, given the requirements under the law. Is your retail repo account up to date? Visit or call your licensed securities dealer for more information. I'm Theodore Henry, and this was your FSC Minute.
On our roads, remember, take time, be courteous, drive good, walk good. Part of keeping our roads safe is ensuring the vehicles we drive are mechanically safe, meeting all roadworthy requirements. And besides that, we must be good drivers and avoid risk-taking and sensation-seeking behaviors which are prone to causing road crashes.
Jamaica and Trinidad and Tobago have long shared diplomatic relations, starting as far back as 1963. Interestingly, Jamaica is the only overseas mission of Trinidad in a CARICOM country. Hear more next.
Jamaica and Trinidad and Tobago, agitators for regional integration, partners in the fight for the Caribbean to have a greater voice in international affairs. And now,
we will engage in discussions on trade, security, and other areas of cooperation, including culture.
Jamaica and Trinidad have long been the forerunners in the English-speaking Caribbean, growing, working, and achieving together. The two gained political independence from Britain in August 1962. The two have the largest populations and economies in the region. The two have been vocal supporters of the CARICOM single market and economy, and the two have been vibrant members of regional and international groupings.
At the regional level in CARICOM, in the Association of Caribbean States, which is headquartered in Trinidad, in the OAS, CELAC, in the United Nations Fora, in the CARIFORUM, and in the African, Caribbean and Pacific Group in Brussels. And of course, through the law or collaboration in the law of the sea, and have worked together to strengthen these institutions.
Since establishing formal diplomatic relations on June 18, 1963, Jamaica and Trinidad and Tobago have engaged in fruitful cooperation programs. Chief among them, scholarships for training programs in diplomacy, environmental sustainability, commodity identification, and trade policy. Trinidad and Tobago also gave much-needed assistance in Jamaica's recovery efforts in the aftermath of Hurricane Dean and Hurricane Gustav. On the matter of trade, Jamaica provides the Twin Island Republic with spices, while Trinidad trades in petroleum and its derivatives, as well as manufactured goods. There are also people-to-people exchanges, with nearly 17,000 Jamaicans granted entry to Trinidad in 2015, while on the reverse, close to 13,000 Trinidadians came to Jamaica. And
we are pleased to be negotiating a joint commission agreement with Trinidad and Tobago, through which we hope to develop a mutually beneficial cooperation program.
Those talks could see an increase in the trade of agriculture and agricultural products. With Prime Minister Keith Rowley's visit to Jamaica, a number of opportunities can be explored. In addition to continuing negotiations on a joint commission agreement, he and Prime Minister Andrew Holness will get a chance to work towards resolving long-standing bilateral and regional issues. These include implementation of the CARICOM single market and economy and the related free movement of community nationals and immigration matters, as well as trade and energy cooperation and air transportation.
I'm looking forward to a successful visit, and at the end of it, I'm looking forward to a stronger bilateral relationship between Jamaica and our largest trading partner within CARICOM.
We want a productive Jamaica. We all are productive Jamaicans. Productivity to move forward on this land. Productivity, that's the way to go, we should understand. Productivity is the way to go for all us Jamaicans. Small business, big business, old and young, we are tell every woman and man. We want growth and prosperity, free a better nation with a building plan. So we can build our product and sell our product and put more money in our hand. Our economy can rise to a level and build a better nation. Productivity to move forward on this land. Productivity, that's the way to go, we should understand. Productivity to move forward on this land. Productivity, that's the way to go, we should understand. Productivity.
Productivity, pathway to prosperity. A message brought to you by the Jamaica Productivity Center, a department of the Ministry of Labor and Social Security.
Nelson Mandela's life was not only a lesson in triumph over adversity, it was also about service above self. Take a look.
Hey, hey, hey.
had been almost 3 decades since black people in South Africa and indeed around the world had seen Nelson Mandela in public. He had faced imprisonment with defiance.
I have cherished the idea of a democratic and free society in which all persons live together in harmony and with equal opportunities. It is an idea for which I hope to live for and to see realized. But my Lord, if it needs be, it is an idea for which I am prepared to die.
To meditate, I send a message out.
Death was not demanded, but life, much of his, was forfeited in pursuit of that ideal. South Africa's anti-apartheid movement was at its height in 1964, when Mandela and 7 other activists were imprisoned. The man who, by another name, was christened one who brings trouble onto himself, would spend the next 27 years behind bars in a fight to ease the troubles of his people.
Free, 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 Nelson Mandela.
His release in 1990 marked a major turning point in the country's history. On July 18, 1918, the son of a Tembu chief was born in a small village in the Transkei province of eastern South Africa. He was christened Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela. As a young boy, he enjoyed farming and engaged in other boyish pursuits. His schooling, right up to the time at the University of Fort Hare, was a first for any member of his family. Other firsts would be logged. And the catalyst might have come in 1939, when, in an attempt to escape an arranged marriage, Mandela moved to Johannesburg, bringing him face to face with the system he would dedicate his life to fighting.
It's a system of racial oppression in which basically the majority of South Africans were disenfranchised. They were denied all kinds of rights, political, economic, social rights. This obviously was exercised by a white minority regime against, not just against black South Africans, who were the majority of the population, but also against colors, which are known, that's how they know in South Africa, but it's mixed people, and also against Asians, or people of Asian origin.
The system of racial segregation, apartheid, existed in South Africa from as early as 1910. It was made more formal and more widespread with the victory of the National Party in 1948. Earlier, in 1943, Mandela joined the African National Congress, ANC, and through it, the struggle against apartheid. Mandela and the ANC engaged in passive resistance to the segregated policies, until later being forced into armed struggle, prompting a government ban on ANC activities.
There are many people who feel that it is useless and futile for us to continue talking peace and non-violence against a government whose reply is only savage attacks on an unarmed and defenseless people.
Mandela's actions were not overlooked. In 1962, he was captured, escaped, and went into hiding. 2 years later, he was recaptured and sentenced to life imprisonment. From behind the bars forged from apartheid, Mandela continued the fight. Inspired by his stance behind those bars, the movement found new energy.
The leadership of ANC is going to decide that they're going to make Nelson Mandela the icon of this struggle against apartheid. And that's when they started the campaign, the Free Mandela campaign. And the struggle against apartheid became much more popular, not just in South Africa, but elsewhere, in particular in Western Europe and North America. Everybody came to know the sufferings and the injustices that black South Africans were undergoing through the face of Mandela and through this campaign to liberate and to free Nelson Mandela.
Free, 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 Nelson Mandela.
The strategy was successful, and worldwide sanctions against South Africa, coupled with widespread resistance within its borders, eventually forced the government to rethink its apartheid policies. Mandela was released in 1990 after successful negotiations with the white government, led at the time by Frederick Willem de Klerk. Within months of his release, he was able to convince the government to establish a multiracial democracy in the country. He was elected leader of the ANC in 1991. Then, in 1994, the inmate from cell 46664 made the transition from prisoner to president when the ANC won South Africa's first democratic elections and Nelson Mandela was named president. Mandela and de Klerk shared the 1993 Nobel Peace Prize for their work in ending apartheid and laying the foundation for a democratic South Africa.
The time for the healing of the wounds has come. We enter into a covenant that we shall build a society in which all South Africans, both black and white, will be able to walk toward a rainbow nation at peace with itself and the world.
Nelson Mandela was truly a great man. Today, we celebrate his birthday by remembering some of his words. He said, "In this new century, millions of people in the world's poorest countries
remain imprisoned, enslaved, and in chains.
They are trapped in the prison of poverty. It is time to set them free. Like slavery and apartheid, poverty is not natural. It is man-made, and it can be overcome and eradicated by the actions of human beings. And overcoming poverty is not a gesture of charity. It is the protection of a fundamental human right, the right to dignity and a decent life. Where poverty exists, there is no true freedom."
The time to build is upon us.
We have at last achieved our political emancipation. We pledge ourselves to liberate all our people from the continued bondage of poverty, deprivation, and suffering. On Nelson Mandela Day, we remember the work, contributions, and words of a great man that inspired change not only in South Africa, but in the world.
And that's how we close things off on Jamaica Magazine. We really appreciate your company. Let's continue to build on that. Visit our website, jis.gov.jm. Add us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, or subscribe to our YouTube page. On behalf of the entire team here at the JIS, I'm Theodore Henry. Thank you for watching.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.